Welcome to another episode of 30 Minutes with dailystraits.com. Today we have a very special guest with us, Greig Brebner, who is an inventor and founder of the revolutionary umbrella brand Blunt. A pioneer in his industry, he takes ordinary products and turns them into extraordinary experiences. Inspired by his father and having grown up in the workshop, watching him create amazing things from basic materials, Greig's extraordinary talents have evolved over time as he focused on the idea of creating a product that would stand the test of time and have mass global appeal. Originally from Auckland, New Zealand, Greig grew up in a small farm, spent a lot of time on the ocean, and enjoyed a free childhood in the great outdoors. Greig moved to London in 1999 for an overseas experience after graduating from Auckland University with a bachelor's in mechanical engineering. It was here that Blunt was conceived. So today we're going to talk to Greig about the difficulties he had starting the brand and also marketing a business with a single product. Hi, Greig. How are you today? Thanks for joining us.
Hi, thank you. Good to be here. How are you?
Good, thank you. All right, let's just dive right into the questions.
Sure.
All right, Greig. After conceiving the idea for Blunt in London, how did you go about validating your business idea?
I think to start with, it was really just my own personal insight that umbrellas just needed a lot of work and they weren't giving people consumer experience that it should be. And just the potential in the product, given that it is a fashion item, I just felt instinctively that it was the right thing to do. So it was a long time before I actually, officially validated it. And it wasn't until, even 5 years later when I had a prototype and tried to sell some, that it was confirmed that it was the right thing to do. So yeah, initially it was just run on instinct, really.
So you didn't go around asking people, what do you think of this idea? Or you just went on with your instinct, right? This needs to be done.
Yeah, exactly. And I think a lot of people thought I was crazy because the umbrella, everyone had lost respect for it in terms of value. So no one was prepared to pay any good money for it. So it was like, everyone was like, why are you wasting your time on something that people don't want to pay money for? So I could ask them if they thought they wanted a better umbrella, and everyone was like, yes. But the fact was that no one was really prepared to pay for it until they actually saw the result.
All right. So you went to London for work, right? For a work experience. Is that right?
Yeah, it was just an overseas experience. So it was pretty casual. And yeah, it wasn't long after I arrived that just saw all these umbrellas on the streets, which we don't normally see so much in smaller cities like in Auckland, where I'm from. Mm-hmm. So it's really that initial insight that sparked my interest.
Awesome. So you said just now people thought you were crazy. Is that right? So you did tell people that you wanted to do this. Who was it? Was it your friends or your family?
Especially both. Yeah, both really. It was. I think I always wanted to invent a special product, and just the umbrella. I just got an obsession with it. So I think it was my obsession with wanting to do something with it that took so long that made everyone think that I was a bit nuts. Because it's not probably a healthy thing to obsess over an umbrella. So yeah, that was where it all started.
So it was in 1999. So how long did it take for you to act and work on the first prototype? Like how long did it take?
So the process went like this. So the first 18 months I got nowhere. So what I was really trying to do is, revolutionize everything about this product. And I was getting nowhere because I was just trying too hard. But when I realized that I needed to take the traditional umbrella and just keep the good bits from that and then work on the bits that weren't working, that's when I got my my first, bit of success. But it was, I think it was about 4 years down the track by the time I actually had a working prototype. So it was quite a drawn out process and it wasn't that easy.
So who produced the prototype for you? Was it in London or did you outsource it?
No, I lived in London for about 2.5 years, and then I came back to New Zealand, and that's when I started doing the prototyping for real. Before that, I was just on the floor of my flat trying to work away with really basic tools, which was only good for so long.
All right. So so you produced your first sample in Auckland, and then how did you test it?
A lot of the testing was really just real world testing. So I lived beside a hill called One Tree Hill in Auckland, and it's Auckland's sort of renowned for bad weather at times. So whenever the weather got bad, I just went up that hill with my latest prototype and tried to test it. So there's nothing like real world testing. It's just, I guess that's when you use an umbrella for real. So if you can test it that way, it's the best way to go about it.
Okay,
Yeah.
did you give anyone else to test it? Like, or was it just you and close friends?
Just people close around me, really. It wasn't until later that we got wind tunnel testing and did more official testing with universities and things like that. But to begin with, it was really just me trying to get insights of how well the product was doing and where I could work on to make it better.
Awesome. So that was 4 years. So it was early 2000s, right? In when you got the first prototype. Is that right?
2004, I think, was the first prototype, but it kind of came in waves, like prototypes always being refined. So there was a version of it, yeah, around 2004.
So you refined, how many versions did you refine before you decided, okay, let's go commercialize this product?
Well, the initial time we commercialized it was actually in 2006. So made some in New Zealand because we were really, really worried about going to China into the industry up there, because we'd heard noises that if you went to the industry, it was run like the mafia, and any idea would just get eaten up and you'd never see anything for it. So we weren't keen to take it to China too quickly. So we tried to make them in New Zealand and made about 200 units in New Zealand, which was quite difficult. So working in our garages late at night and just putting these products together with super glue. And that was the first time we validated the product in the market.
Quite difficult because there wasn't any manufacturers there. Is that right? Or
not for umbrellas, no.
Oh.
And umbrellas are actually really labor intensive to put together for what they are. So we could get the components made, no problem, but the whole assembly process and getting the sewing done, there was no industry here. So it was never going to stack up, but we had to do it to validate it. So that was the first approach to getting them out in the world for real.
So how did you do that? Then you went online and learned how to make an umbrella from scratch? Is that how you did it?
Well, they're actually quite simple. And because my design was my design, I knew how to make it. And my father had a plastics business, so we could get plastic components made. So, and then we got some components out of China and got some canopies sewn up by a local lady who's doing sewing. So all the pieces came together, and that final assembly was where a lot of the work was, just to put it together. So yeah, I knew what we were doing. It was just the effort it took to do it.
Awesome. So I don't know if you could reveal your initial investment in this project. Also, before that, were you working, or by this time you were fully invested in a blunt?
No, the first 10 years of this, I was part-time. So yeah, working in other jobs. So yeah, it wasn't until 10 years down the track that was actually a job for real. So yeah, very long time until we actually got proper product in from China, which was in 2009. That was a part-time effort. Yeah. So it was throwing basically savings at it for the first 5 years. And then in 2007, we got investment from external investors, and they're still with us today. So yeah, quite drawn out.
Awesome. So what was your initial investment? Because you were working, and what did you put in for your venture?
Well, it wasn't one lump sum, it was over time. So it's actually quite hard to quantify, because when you start out, everything's pretty relaxed. So I was just throwing all my life savings at it, but it was in the hundreds of thousands, I'm sure. And then, yeah, so that was basically my input to get to a point where we could get investment. Yeah, but yeah, it's quite difficult to actually put a number to it.
Alrighty, no worries. Maybe could you tell us why you decided on producing 200? That's quite a bit. And what if you wouldn't have sold it, like what was your backup plan for the umbrellas that wouldn't have gone, wasn't sold?
Yeah, the way it worked out was we actually got parts to make a lot more than that, like 1,000 at least. But what happened is we made these umbrellas, got them into the shops, and they started to sell. So we'd actually validated the idea. But what happened is when the weather came and the next storm came, they all started to fall apart. And basically, the issue was that we had a really bad build quality. So we had a good design, but a poor build. So that was that meant that we really had to stop. So that was the end of that first production effort, I guess. And so that's when we realized we had to go to the real makers of umbrellas to get it made properly. So yeah. So
those 200 that you made were all well, they were all bad, right? Or they were.
Yeah, although we didn't really know how to make. We knew how to make them, but not make them well. And there's a whole, I guess, skill set in making umbrellas in itself. So we needed the experts for that to help out. But the design was okay; it was all good, and everyone loved that. But unless you make it with a really good build quality, you're wasting your time. So that was a lesson learned.
So how did you find a real manufacturer then?
So we knew we had to get into the industry in China, because that's where all the umbrella makers were. But we were very nervous because we thought we only get one go at it. So if we get into the wrong factory, and it didn't work out, they would just keep making them. So we had that feeling that we had to get it right first time. And we ended up finding a contact, and it was a Kiwi guy who was living in China in the umbrella industry just by chance. So he was incredibly helpful. His name's David Haythornthwaite, and he basically directed us in the right direction to get with the right factory, which we're still with today. So we're incredibly lucky to find that factory and get moving.
How did you find that guy? Like online or Alibaba?
It was just friends of friends. You know, New Zealand's quite a small place, so everyone seems to know everyone like once removed. So it was just luck, really, and it came at the right time because we definitely needed it.
Awesome. So okay, and what was the idea behind the brand name Blunt?
It really came about. We were looking for a name that was punchy and people would remember, but it really was. It just, I guess, it was the fact that it described the product because we haven't got the sharp tips on it. Before that, I was calling it the pointless umbrella, which wasn't really resonating with a lot of people. So blunt, it really just describes what the product is. It's blunt, it's not sharp. And the sharp points was that initial, I guess, the initial inspiration for wanting to fix the umbrella. So it just fitted.
Awesome. So okay, so you went with this guy in China, and how many? What was the production like for the first round?
So it was quite painful actually, because I think it's 2007 we first met, and we didn't get production out until 2009. So there was a 2-year time period there where it was a lot of nothing happening, and it basically came down to the fact that we were trying to disrupt the way this factory worked, because they want to make umbrellas faster and cheaper. And here we were coming along with this product that was going to take a lot more effort to make, and they had no confidence that we could even sell it. So they didn't do anything for a very long time. So it wasn't until we actually put a fair bit of money in to get a good production run done that they actually started to do something. So that was, it was a big lesson about how much we had to fight to actually get this product through.
Did you have to fly down and talk to them, sign NDAs, stuff like that?
Yeah, well, agreements aren't so big in China, but we definitely went up there plenty of times. I've been to China over 40 times. So there's a lot of visits and a lot of building the relationship and doing everything you need to do to have a good, healthy relationship.
Awesome. So okay, so you got it after 2 years, the product. What was your MOQ? 1,000 umbrellas in different colors or what?
We actually committed to 10,000 units, and that's what we had to do just to get them to make them for us. So so we got the first container down to New Zealand and had a look through it, and I think about half of them were rejects. So and the other half needed a lot of reworking to get into the stores. So this was another big lesson for us just in quality. And you can't assume anything when it comes to quality, especially when you're making something on the other side of the world and in the umbrella industry, because the standards in the industry just weren't at the level that we needed to do what we needed to do with this product. So so it was from that day forward that we actually put our own quality control systems in place. So we have independent people come into the factory and check every single umbrella before they leave, which is quite a costly exercise, but it's something we need to do to get our quality at the level that we need to be at.
Awesome. So you were having a job while you're doing all this, or did you already leave your full-time gig? Right?
Once we got the first production out of China, then I was full-time on it. So yeah.
So when you say we, right, is it you and a bunch of staff or other members?
So the first 5 years it was just me, and then once I got to a point where I had the product, I really needed some help. So a guy called Scott Kington got involved, and that's together when we started doing that first production run to get them sold in New Zealand to validate the idea.
Awesome. Yeah. So you got the first 10,000 umbrellas in 2009, is that correct?
Yeah, the first 10,000 were made. We only brought half of them down to New Zealand. And I think we had to actually write a few of them off because the quality wasn't up to scratch.
Okay, by then were you actually selling, or you made the product first and then decided on marketing it? How did your
because we'd done that first run in 2006, a lot of shops are very eager to get the better version because they knew they would sell. So we did have a few shops that were waiting for them for those years, and they were very patient. But so 2010 we got into the local shops in New Zealand, and it was actually fairly easy to get started. Once we had a few shops on board, other people would take it on. And we went to just a local trade show, and people took it on board and got into it. But for the global market, that was a bit more difficult because here again, we were trying to disrupt the way these traditional distributors do things. They just basically need umbrellas that break so they can keep selling them. And for us to come along with this umbrella that was going to last, it just made no sense for their business model. So to get them out there, we had to really set up our own independent distribution network around the world. And the only way really to do that was just to make a lot of noise about what we had. And we did that really through PR. So we got a lot of articles written about us. We sent samples off to some magazines to write about us, and everyone seemed to love a new story about an umbrella. So it caused a lot of attention. So it was a great start. Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, let me just take you back there. So when you first did the, you said just now, right, you produced the 10,000 umbrellas from China and then shops were waiting for them. But you said they've already sold it before. Was it with the 200 umbrellas that you made earlier with, in New Zealand?
Oh, we hadn't pre-sold anything. So everything had to be sold once we got here. So we had a bit of stock for a while. Yeah, no, we hadn't pre-sold anything. No, it was just a case of investing in the stock and doing the work when we got the umbrellas to get them out to the world.
So, okay, so the first umbrellas were sold in 2009 from China, right? And that's when everyone started taking it and selling it, right?
Yeah, so we basically got container loads. The first one was down to New Zealand, where we are the local distributor, and we got local shops going. And it was all small independent shops to start with. And as we got more popular, about 3 years in, I think we got into the local department store in Auckland. And that's when the popularity of it started to go up quite a bit. Once you're in a bigger store, people start to really take notice. And we've just steadily grown from there. So that's how New Zealand's gone. And then globally, we've had different distributors through the years. And it's always a little bit of a challenge trying to get the right partners in markets that will actually have the same ambitions as you to get your product out into the market. And it requires a lot of management. And when you're dealing with markets on the other side of the world, there's a lot of different things you've got to put in place to actually make them work effectively. So as a small company, it's been quite a challenge to make that happen. So we've spread quite thin, I guess, to begin with around the world with our product. Like everybody loves it and wants it, but if you don't have all the machine behind it to actually sell it in an effective way, then you can have a few problems. So now our global strategy now is to actually focus more on specific markets and go a bit deeper as opposed to going wider with our offering.
Awesome. So could you tell me, right, how did you approach the independent sellers? And they would take your product for free and sell it and give you the difference later, or how does it work?
No, it's basically just approaching them, going into the door initially with the product and just telling them about it and telling them the benefits and the features. And then the trade show, the local trade show, attracted a lot of people. So we went to that a few times. There's one in Auckland every 6 months. So just going to that and just talking to them about the benefits of a product that's going to last. And it's such a great gifting item too. So there's plenty of shops out there that just love a unique gift. And then for us, there's also the promotional market. So corporate gifting, that's actually a really big market for us because people are sick of giving products that are going to break and that sort of thing. So we've got really good sustainable credentials. So there's been quite a few different channels to market. And then there's also been the online market, obviously, as well, where we can sell direct to our consumer. So we have quite a few options to get our products out there to the world.
Yeah, but do these mom and pop shops take it for free first and then give or?
No, most of the time they were quite happy to take on like even just a small amount, like 6. So everyone understood that we were a small startup and didn't have much money. So they understood how it worked, that they had to take the risk themselves to sell them. So they usually started with a small amount and we were happy with that. And then they just grew from there. And once they sold a few, they got confidence and they bought more. So that's generally how it works. Yeah.
So how did you scale up from being a startup to now in New Zealand, Australia? Like, how did that happen?
It's just slowly. It's just season by season. You just grow, you get more popularity. And the big scale up really recently has been within our business. And actually, I guess going from a startup mode where it's very creatively led to being a bit more business and more process and disciplines and more systems, just our financial systems within the business. Just making that a bit more polished so that as you grow, you don't get those pains. So yeah, it's just been a gradual just growth over the years. And within the market, it's just getting more stores on board and getting bigger stores and then servicing them well. Yeah.
So you're also in the UK, right? Where the idea was conceived. So first was New Zealand, and then did you go to Australia or UK?
Australia was very early. Japan was actually quite early as well. And Japan was a really interesting market because most traditional umbrella distributors wouldn't take us on because we're too expensive. But in Japan, it was quite different because they actually, I guess, appreciated good design and were willing to take a bit more of a risk with something of higher value. So we got to Japan quite early days. And then I think the Netherlands was quite early as well, but the UK came a little bit later. But yeah, the UK has always been this, I guess, for me, having started it there, to get back there and make it big is sort of the ultimate dream and sort of complete that vision. But yeah, so we're in the UK ourselves now with our own people. So it's coming along nicely, apart from COVID getting in the way.
No. Okay, I wanted to ask you this. So it just like Crocs, the sandals, you've managed to stay in business with a single product, if I'm right, right? So can you please impart some wisdom on how you do that? Because your business is just based around one single product and you've grown. So is there like a secret recipe, how do you make your product I don't know, viable and like innovative, and do you have plans to branch out to other products?
Yeah, great questions. Yeah, so initially it was, I guess I was just so I just knew that focus was so important, to do one thing and do it well. I just seen so many people, especially in New Zealand companies and small companies, they try to grow by doing more offerings. They think the answer is through being more creative and offering more things. But generally speaking, if you're going to go global, the answer is doing one thing and doing it really well. So going deep with your offering. So that was in my head the whole time, because I was just tempted through the years to do other things all the time, because that's where I come from. I want to be innovative. So yeah, I guess it's just a discipline of saying, no, you're going to do one thing and do it well and make it the best in the world. So I think that was probably a big key part to our success. But there's definitely been temptations over the years to do other things, that's for sure. Yeah.
So how do you overcome the pressure to produce
Pressure.
yeah, because I'm sure people would say, why didn't you do this? Why didn't you do that? Because you've already had a successful product, right?
Yeah, well, the reality is that the market is so untapped for what we've done. So the runway for umbrellas and what we've got is still huge. So everyone recognizes that. So the work isn't in creating more offerings, it's actually in opening up the markets. So that's always been the problem, is actually how do you get the same product out to more people? So yeah, I'd love to be doing something else, and we will in the future, but we're just trying to put a bit more of a shape to how that looks, because we need to continue with that same theme and take an ordinary product and make it extraordinary, like we have with the umbrella.
Awesome. Can you just tell me, okay, we'll talk about the price. You mentioned it just now that people were hesitant to take it up because it's expensive, but when I did a deep dive on the product, it has a 2-year warranty. And once something happens to it, you can send it back for repairs and stuff like that. So which other umbrellas do not offer. So how did you decide on the price point? Because it's about $100, an average umbrella. So it has, some of the umbrellas have good designs, like you've teamed up with illustrators, and but other times it's just plain and it's just a good durable product. So what is the price point, the percentage, like how do you decide on it?
It really comes down to the value point, I think. Like our products, because of the lifespan in them, because they do last, the value you get out of that one product is so much more than a traditional umbrella. And then along the way, your experience of using it is so much better as well. So there's just plus, plus, plus. So that if you're talking money, then it kind of distracts from that value point. So really for us, it's just about getting enough money to obviously pay for the product, but also so we can do more of what we do well in terms of making better offerings. So it really comes down to the value. Like if you're going to buy, I guess, 10 cheaper umbrellas within a 2-year period and they all break, you know, it's the same cost as buying a blunt, but you get a way better experience and you get more attachment and more of that emotional connection with your product. So it really comes back to that value point that we talk about when it comes to price.
Awesome. So when if something does happen to the umbrella and they send it back for repair, is it free, the delivery and everything, or?
Yeah, so everything about our offering is about having you own that product for as long as possible. So there's a whole lot of innovation that we're putting in place to help that. But in terms of repair, it's about within that 2-year period, we'll do anything for free, obviously, to keep you going. But if it goes beyond that 2-year period, then we have a service that for a minimal small cost, we will fix the umbrella as well. So you're never on your own. So throughout the lifetime of that umbrella, we're always with you to keep it going and make sure that you have a good experience.
So how do they send the umbrella back to you? Do they have a casing that you give when you buy the umbrella? Or?
Yeah, so the umbrella does come in a box that you can put back in for postage if it needs to come back to us, and so there is that option. But it's quite easy to just to wrap it up and send it to us however you want to. So we have dedicated workshops in Australia and New Zealand that are just dedicated to basically repairing our umbrellas and have all the parts. And as we go into the future, a big part of the way we're designing our products is to make them in like a system, a modular system of parts that can be easily connected together. So the latest umbrellas that come out now, the handle actually clips off like changing a light bulb, so that if your dog was to chew your handle, then we could just send you out a new handle and you could clip it on yourself, so that you don't have that inconvenience of actually having to send your umbrella somewhere to be repaired. So, and the same with the canopy can be come off and put on. So if 3 years down the track you don't like the design of your canopy anymore, you can buy a new one, and we can send it out to you, and through some basic instructions from a video, you can replace it yourself. So that's what we're working on for the future, is just really trying to make our products like a Lego system that you can upgrade and accessorize yourself, just so that you keep owning it for as long as possible, which is a really nice sustainability story.
Yeah, it is. Very, very good. So how does, okay, now that I've seen that you're working with some artists to design, to make patterns on the umbrella, to give it like, a kind of swag look, So, and I've seen that you've teamed up with a Melbourne designer, and what is the future in that? Who else are you looking to collaborate with?
It's actually a really powerful thing for us, these collaborations, because because I guess we have our core sort of skill set in terms of creating this amazing product that looks good anyway, but to be able to put other people's art onto it just takes it to a whole new level. So it's sort of like this match of engineering and art. And by working with other brands that have their own fan base, their own tribe, it's actually really powerful for us as a brand to be introduced to a whole new audience by partnering with them. So it's just the fact, I guess, that we've got such a distinctive canvas for people to put their art on, that we're quite attractive for this. So for us to go into new markets, like into Australia and Melbourne, to actually go and find an artist or a brand that can resonate with the local market and partner with them, it's a really nice, warm way to enter that market, and just basically to express us in a whole new way to a whole new group of people. So really powerful. Yeah, it's great.
Awesome. Alrighty. So that's all the time we have for today, and we've got some good answers from you. And this would actually help people who have, a single product, who want to produce single products in the future, and then they can use your success story to, push them forward. So do you have any parting words for any entrepreneurs who might want to do a single kind of product, but they are unsure if it is a workable idea? What would you say to these people?
I'd say two things. The first thing is just really test your idea with as many people as you can, because a lot of people, I guess, once you get too far down the track with an idea that maybe isn't right, you can waste a lot of time and money. So from day one, just be super, super sure that your idea has got the legs. And the second thing is just get some good people around you that you can trust and actually have been there, done that, to bounce things off, so that you're getting the right knowledge. And I think the last thing is just, it's going to take time. So just be really patient, knowing everyone wants everything super quick today. And I guess patience has just gone out the window a bit. So just know that if it's going to work, and it's going to work long term, it's going to take a long time to get there. So you just got to, I guess, just be patient. Know that you will get there if you stick to your path and you've got a good idea. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. Thank you so much for that, Greg.
No problem. Easy.
Awesome. Thank you.